right, it's like after 1 o'clock in the morning. I just can't sleep, so I think I'm gonna make a video, and I want to continue with the theme of Iran on my mind. And boy, I think this is gonna be a long segment unless I cut into two parts, possibly three. And so the first part goes into um, well, the first part could be cut into two parts, and the third part, you know. So the first two parts are, let's just see how it goes. It's about like uh, the American companies and individuals who are benefiting from fighting, uh, warring with Iran, and how that's connected to how this is being connected to Israel. So the question that I put for Chat GPT is there any American companies and individuals who are benefiting from the war with Iran connected to Israel? Now, I have to kind of like pick and choose what I want to read over here because there's overlap. So we already know about who's benefiting regarding American companies and some individuals, and we'll see how this overlaps with now that I pull Israel into the um, uh, bargain. Okay, so I ask, is there any American companies and individuals who are benefiting from the war with Iran connected to Israel? Yes. If by benefiting you mean companies and investors whose revenues, stock prices, and contracts or market opportunities increase because of the war, there are several American companies that can benefit financially. That does not mean they caused the war or wanted it to happen. Again, I'm sorry, that's a Freudian slip. It's a it's a .com Freudian slip. All right, Chat GPT is making because I'm just asking, hey, who's making money off this war and in connection with Israel, and then it's like that does not mean they caused the war. I didn't mean it for it to happen. We didn't want it to happen, but it's happening, and we're making a lot of money from it. So, so it's like it has the listing. So, the defense contracts, weapons, missiles, and aircraft. So, you watched my previous video. I mentioned Lockheed Martin, RTX Corporation, Raytheon, uh, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics. We already heard about this. Boeing, and so on, right? Boeing. Okay. Oil and energy companies, ExxonMobil, Chevron, etc. Investors and wealthy shareholders. The biggest financial beneficiaries are often not individual executives, but large shareholders and investment funds. So, and again, you've heard these names before. Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street. Okay. Global advisors. Okay. These firms manage trillions of now think about this. Trillions of dollars and commonly hold shares in major defense companies through index funds and ETFs. So it's just like you're talking trillions of dollars, and that's why I say we're basically living in these people's world, and like we're like so much furniture that they just kind of move around, and like we have to like we have to like we have our own ideas, our own vision of what we want to do in our life, but we have to kind of like walk around these big monoliths, like it's and that's basically what it is. It's just how we're so small by comparison, and the earth shakes because they tell it to. It's just like that. To me, that's how I see it and feel it. And so also defense technology startups. Well, that's interesting. Startups. So I'll try to read this one. Anduril Industries has attracted major investment because of growing interest in military drones, autonomous systems, and AI-enabled warfare technology. So basically, that'd be a nice, interesting video to make regarding the we're actually watching the world change in real time. Like so there were a group of people who they were born and there was no telephones, and then while they were growing up, oh, this new idea, telephones, and then it winds up like at arm's reach. It's like, wow, what the hell, And so same with the Model T, before in the same generation of people, they're living, and there's horses and carriage. Now there's these cars sharing the road with the horses, okay, in the cities and that. And that's kind of like, and like some of us, like in my age group, there was no internet. Now there's, and then we saw internet, over the horizon. And I remember this architect student, like I got my master's at ASU for fine art, like a master's in fine art in the 90s. And there was this guy who was Gary Barger or Bark. Uh, and he used to bark, he was like this kind of like really moody architecture, student living at this house across from the art store that I used to work. And down the street from that was my art studio, us graduate students at studios. And so he was like, him and I don't know, I liked his vibe. And he was like, did you hear about the web? Yeah, this thing called the web. And it's like, it's going to connect everybody and everything. And he was so dismal about it. And it was like, and I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. I was not familiar with any computers. My face was in my canvas, painting, and reading certain books and chasing tail. No, I'm kidding. Just living. I was really serious as an art student, and I knew that I want to be an art professor. And I go, okay, this is why I'm doing this, because I like some of my art professors. And I go, okay, I didn't know how else to face the world. It's like I don't know what else to do in this world, in this society. It's like I only identify with my art professors. If I was a talented musician, I'd be like, let's do a band. I'm trying to learn the piano, and so it's just something that I do for keeping my brain like elastic. Use different parts of the brain for different functions, and so, and I always loved music. I would paint, listen to music, and so, anyways. So like this is the new world that we're seeing. Okay, apart from the internet and social media and all this stuff, and self-driving cars. All right, Waymo, self-driving cars, and I've ridden in it a few times. Just to check it out. I think that you should try it. It's just to know that it's like so. And there's a double-edged sword with. I want to do a thing on AI and like automated stuff, and bring up like Jacques Fresco and these other futurists. But yeah, I mentioned this guy's name before. Anyways, but no, right now this kind of takes a negative slant, with AI, especially now with you know what's happening, across this country with the data centers, and it is a sticky freaking ride, and I don't want to get into that, but like we're talking the new kind of warfare is going to be is drones. It's happening with Russia and Ukraine, and with Iran, and like Iran's using these, they got $1,000 drone destroying something that costs like $100 million. You know what I mean? Like United States equipment, and they send these like $1,000 drones wiping out our multi-million-dollar equipment. You've heard it already. We already know that this is actually taking place. So this is the new technology, and it makes sense. I could envision like you could be across an ocean and you send an army of like these unmanned robots to fly. Just change the name from their drones and all that, right? We'll call them robots, and they can fly. These are flying robots. They know where to go, and boom, they explode. They come, they crash and explode on the target. And why wouldn't they be able to eventually go across an ocean? Somehow you can feel them in mid-flight, just like we do our planes and stuff. Like this is right over the horizon, and right now, regional territory, they're doing it already with Russia and Ukraine, and also in the Middle East with Israel, and Iran, and the United States and Iran. And so it's already happening. And so it's autonomous systems and drones, and so they're really getting a chunk out of this. And so important distinction again. I call it the the .com Freudian slip here. There is a difference between this company profits from a war spending from war spending. True for many defense contractors, this company caused a war, a much stronger claim that requires evidence. Now, let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning of this. I did I asked it one question and I read the answer. Did I mention that these people caused the war? And let's go back. Is there any American companies and individuals who are benefiting from the war with Iran connected to Israel? And then then it spits out its reply. And I have not asked another question, and it's saying it's saying this company caused the war. This is a much stronger claim that requires evidence. I never made that claim. Now I do confess it. I think that's exactly what's happening. They have like indirect influence, and they are part of the military industrial complex. That's what the military industrial complex is, people. It's not just the weapons manufacturers; it's everything else that's connected to it. And we've already went over what that is. So I'm surprised. Uh, I'm not surprised actually. So it's interesting, right? And then it says, if you want, I can give you a list of specific billionaires, CEO, and other major investors who personally stand to gain from the Iran-Israel conflict, including estimated net worths. I said, yes, give me the list of the specific billionaires, CEOs, and major investors who personally stand to gain from this conflict, including estimated net worths. I'm talking about the ones who are connected to Israel in specific. And it's obvious why I would go there, you know. Um, want to double check, I don't want to keep repeating myself though, so I kind of got to read in silence before I start spitting it out. It says I can give you the list, but I want to separate the documented financial beneficiaries from claims that someone is profiting from the war in a personal intentional sense. Is it? I still think that's strange, don't you think? You know, it's I don't know. A CEO or investor can gain because they own stock in a company whose contracts. Yeah, why would you want that to end? Uh, that does not prove they wanted or caused a conflict. Again, I never said that they did cause it. I might be thinking that, but I never. That's not in the question put here. For the Iran-Israel conflict specifically, the main American individuals who can personally benefit financially are generally connected through U.S. defense companies supplying Israel U.S. military operations or weapons replenishment. Does anybody remember the Oliver North and the when Reagan was president and the Iran Contra scandal? So it's kind of like the same thing in a sense, like and that's what I mean. This is we're talking like United America is a veteran towards this kind of shit. It's not like a brand new scenario. It's just everybody now is aware of it. Like back then, we didn't have the internet, so it's like, ooh, people are talking, ooh, this thing about the Iran Contra thing, selling weapons over there and giving the proceeds to this right wing, Central American government to overflow the more socialist one, right? And Reagan's all for the, so look, so and it was like, well, not everybody's on board with that, conclusion, but like it's obvious now that this is everyone's seeing it in social media, and more people probably learn about the Iran, you know, um, The contra. It's again. It's with Iran. That was back with when Reagan was president in the '80s. Iran was there, in the middle of this then, and it's like we are poking them. They're not poking us, and it's like, another thing you can look into is how they got rid of Omar Gaddafi of Libya. And NATO is responsible for that. We're a part of NATO. We run it basically. Anyway. So all these things are connected, obviously. So again, the people who benefit connect. We already went over this. You have like the CEO of Lockheed Martin, the CEO of Raytheon, the CEO of Grumman, the CEO of Boeing, blah blah blah, and also I want to get into the founder of the Anduril Industries, estimated at 2.3 billion. They develop the drones and all the AI systems. So that's something to kind of like highlight a little bit. Palmer Lucky, yeah, I guess he's pretty lucky. Now he's sitting pretty. So major billionaire investors funds that can gain indirectly. So again, we have the Larry Fink. So let's see how it connects with Israel here. So Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, 1 billion, approximately network 1 billion connection. I don't know if this slides over. It just says BlackRock is among the largest institutional holders. Okay, okay, let's just move on. We already know that. Vanguard, okay. State Street, we already know. Blah blah blah. Okay, people with stronger direct Israel defense connections. Palmer Luckey, Anduril has pursued defense contracts and partnerships involving U.S. and allied militaries. His wealth is tied to the expansion of defense technology for Israel. Israel Defense Company executives, not American. Okay, these are the ones that they may also benefit. Okay, so the biggest financial beneficiaries are usually not CEOs. The largest dollar gains often go to institutional investors, again, BlackRock and that, hedge funds, defense industry shareholders, weapons manufacturers, energy companies, if the oil prices rise. So this is me again, give me a more focused list of billionaires who have publicly supported Israel. It's kind of like not really doing that. And so on. So I can give you a focus list, but with an important direct distinction: being pro-Israel, donating to Israel-related causes, investing in Israeli companies, or owning defense stocks does not by itself mean someone benefits from the Iran-Israel war or supports the war for profit. The connection has to be shown through ownership. Of course it does. You got to see through this. If nobody was making a red penny, all right, a shekel or what have you, from these wars, we wouldn't be having them. It's kind of like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. That's what's going on here, and that's how it's being stated. That's just how I see it. And what do you think? Okay, the most relevant high net worth individuals. Okay, so you have a billionaire investor. This person is 30 billion. That's Miriam Adelson, Israeli connection, major Republican donor, strong supporter of Israel. She's a widow of a casino billionaire. Okay. They also Sheldon Adelson, also who was one of Israel's is one of Israel's largest American political supporters. Family wealth has supported pro-Israel political organizations and causes. Okay, blah blah blah. So that's that. And if we're talking like uh, their net worth is 30 billion. Larry Ellison, 150 billion. Oracle founder, publicly supportive of Israel and has donated to Israel-related causes. Oracle has a major technology contracts and operations connected to government and security sectors. His wealth is primarily technology, as opposed to weapons. Michael Bloomberg, 100 billion. Listen to that, those figures, 100 billion. What could you do with 100 billion? And here it's just for this. It's not for anyways. Okay. Longtime supporter of Israel, has publicly defended Israel's security position. Bloomberg LP provides financial data and services as opposed to defense, direct defense. It's connected, but not direct. Like they ain't giving them bullets or guns. Okay, Palmer Luckey, 2 to 3 billion. Oh, he's small fry. He's worked closely with defense and security communities and has expressed support for Israel's security needs. Founder of Anduril Industries, defense, blah, 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 making the AI systems and all that. We already talked about that. Peter Thiel, okay, is wrong with that guy. His name was going to pop up and up. And here it is, 10 billion. I thought it'd be more than that. Has invested in Israeli technology companies and has a strong U.S.-Israel technology security ties. Founders Fund has invested in defense technology, including Israeli-connected defense startups. Larry Fink, 1+ billion. Okay, they have investments in Israel. They're investing in Israel. That's all you have to know. And they benefit from higher defense spending. Gina Reinhardt, 30 billion. Expressed support for Western security interests. And her investment company brought nearly 100 million of U.S. defense stocks from Lockheed Martin, RTX, and Northrop Grumman. Okay. Oh, here's more direct Israel defense industry wealth. Oh, okay, a new one. This guy's $5 billion, 5+ billion. Michael Federman. Controlling shareholder of Elbit Systems, Israel's largest defense company. Okay, there it is. The largest financial beneficiaries are often institutions, not one billionaire. So, and that's the thing. And these institutions are manned by hundreds of thousands of people and investors and funds, hedge funds or whatever, all this stuff. Think about that. BlackRock, Vanguard Group, and State Street. Okay. We already know that. A key point, these people who make the most money from the wars are usually not the CEOs. Okay, that's fair. I might have not made that clear, but it's making it clear here. It's the shareholders, the investment funds, it's defense contractors and executives whose compensation is tied to company stock performance. Again, that's how a lot of things are now, I think. Like, so you go to your car, you go to any kind of commercial building, establishment, service. Well, that is beholden to the stock shareholders. If it's a business, a commercial business, an entity, where you go, you can buy things and stuff like that, that's what they answer to. They don't answer to you, they answer to the stock shareholders. Someone has to be in alignment. Like if nobody likes anything that this company is going to do, it's going to have a problem. But unless the shell company for hidden black market purposes, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of weird ass companies that they just look good on paper, but they're not providing a service. But so that's a whole other thing. That's like a Whitney Webb thing. She wrote a big, thick book on that, One Nation Under Blackmail. I read it, and it's just, the companies that they're all shell companies. They look good on paper, but they're not even a real company. It's just for, because of the black market money, like, hidden. Yeah. So, okay. It's crazy. She mentions how we had 2 CIAs at one time. Yeah. It's just weird stuff. So, okay. So where are we going with this? Below is a ranked list of people and families who have the strongest overlap of the 3 factors of what? What are the 3 factors? Israel ties, defense investments, and potential financial upside from the Iran conflict. So public support for Israel or close Israel ties. Okay, investments. Okay, what do you do? This is not a list of people proven to have caused or wanted the war. Okay, I don't care about that. That's not. I just want the people. I'm not saying that they caused the war in my questions here. Doesn't matter what I think. That's not what I said here. Again, it's doing this weird Freudian slip. That's how I see it. Palmer Luckey, we already know that. Okay. Peter Thiel, we already know that. And Miriam Adelson, okay. Went over that. Larry Fink. Uh, okay. So yeah, and then Abigail Johnson, Fidelity Investments, that's 25 to 30 billion. Fidelity has invested globally, including in a Israeli technology market. So there you go. I don't know if I mentioned it. Fidelity funds hold shares in major defense contractors. Why she could benefit as a major asset manager? Rising defense stocks can increase fund values and management fees. Charles Schwab family executive, estimated worth of 10 plus billion. Israel connections. Schwab funds invest broadly in Israeli and global companies. Okay. So when you Gina Reinhardt, mining billionaire, 30 billion, Israel connection has supported Western security positions and Israeli related causes. Has invested heavily in U.S. defense stocks. Defense stocks tend to rise during geopolitical crisis. Okay, remember that. Now here's something that I this is unscripted, but we are veterans when it comes to the United States sits pretty over here, but they cause confusion and chaos over there. And sometimes they sell the opposing armies weapons, like we did for the Iran Contra thing. And we're doing it right now with Israel. Hey, here's weapons, Israel. And then we're dealing with here's weapons, Ukraine. It's not just giving it to them for free. They're gonna have to pay us back. So that's why you have to understand that we're making a big investment here. We're not going to let go of these investments. So that's why Israel is not going away. It's only growing. And then now we're intermingling our military with the Israeli military in certain areas. And there's talk that at the state level in the United States, uh, law enforcement is interacting with the Israeli military force. It's like intelligence wise, and like teaching them how to you know go after you and me. If we look at them wrong. Not just yet, but and how does that connect with ICE? What they're learning. And do you think here's another thing? Again, I'm going to chase this dog as it's passing by. When something is on the table, like something is now enacted and now we see it, like with income taxes. Remember when there was a time in it we didn't have taxes, and then we have taxes. Okay, the funding for the war, World War II and all that, and the New Deal. It's all connected. Where you have, okay, we have people have to pay taxes, blah blah blah. Well, it's like, hey, after this crisis, we're gonna roll back the taxes. Well, it never happened. So I think that's why there's a lot of conservatives who hate FDR because of the taxes, right? Isn't that like? And I would be like Bernie Sanders. Well, those are lawful taxes because look what we got in the in return. We have like a 40-day work week. We have fire escape access. We have fresh water and a growing sense of the ability to get medical. And also a sense of like I can work and then I can retire and like work on the infrastructure and provide jobs and so that's we got something in return for those taxes. I hate taxes like anybody else, but anyways, I think so. But that's just an example of okay, we have this for temporary, but we're going to get rid of it. And it might have been a similar thing might have even been said for corporations. Like there was a time we didn't have corporations, but then like during another war, I think the Civil War, certain kinds of things are put into place and mobilized, and we have to build surplus for weapons and surplus and all this for this. And so it's like they have to create these corporations, and somehow they never dissolved. That's something that I think I read that somewhere like 4 years ago. I can't remember, but like it just was on the back of my head. I never investigated, but that could be something that somebody could say, well, you're right about this point, wrong about that point. Well, whatever, devil in the details. It pretty much makes sense. So, like now, all I'm trying to say, gang, is like, so um, I don't think ICE is going away. And I don't think these private for profit prisons are going to go away. I just don't see it. And what I do see instead is they incarcerate people and then they take them and they put them in the correction facilities, which really kind of look like detention camps. And what they do is they could take them and then they move them from state to state. or place to place. And the reason why is because they work there, they use them for cheap labor there, then they move them over here after a few months, and they keep doing that. And so now these people are like nobodies. They you can't trace them. They're first now we're dealing with the illegals, right? The people who are illegals and supposed like criminal element, where they're just undocumented, they're just illegal. Sometimes they might even be legal, but they're like, oh no, your name is Juan Gonzalez, and so you're illegal. Well, no. That's another one. You got me mistaken with another one. There's a million Juan Gonzalez. I'm sorry. Anyway, you get a lot of people implicated, but you get these people who are like, let's just say the undocumented, the illegals, and they're the ones that are like the nobodies, where they have no name. You can't they can't their family can't trace them because they don't stay somewhere like you know wherever any state. They keep moving them around, and so you could use this as cheap labor. So I think that that's not going away. And I think when push comes to shove, they might get American citizens in these prisons, and they use them, for like this cheap labor. So you have like this huge freaking workforce that are the criminal element, and so it's almost like, if I was a diabolical, person, I'd be like, well, no, we don't kick out we create the illusion that we're kicking out the illegals, but then we circle them back through the back door, and they work for us. Or we do kick them out, and they wind up having to live in a prison somewhere in the foreign countries, and they have to work at these fucking factories for us. That's what you should really be doing, because you are fucking assholes. But let me show you how to be true fucking assholes. You take all these illegals, instead of deporting them, you somehow use their energy and work them like fucking dogs in the prison, whether it's in this country, without us knowing, or in the country that they're being deported to. And it's like, if you're going to be an asshole, why don't you go for the money? You're already going for broke. Let's see what you really got, you fucking assholes. Fucking shit. Anybody who would vote for ICE and like doing this to people and separating families, you've got to have a problem. It doesn't matter how much money you got, if you're happily married or whatever, or you have a brand new car, it doesn't matter. A career, a 30-year career with a job that you like, it doesn't matter. There's got to be something wrong with you if you vote for Trump and you're supporting this still. There's got to be, the first time around we can kind of see it, but even that, I smelled a rat from the beginning. But like now, okay. Anyways, let's continue with this. It's already 33 minutes into this. Okay, Dell Technologies, 100 billion. Israel connection. Dell has significant Israeli technology connections through investments, operations, blah blah blah. Okay, I don't have to read every little line. You kind of get the idea. Again, there's Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison, I think. Oh no, yeah. I don't know if I mentioned him. Larry Ellison, Oracle, 150 billion. Oracle has a major operations in Israel, and Ellison has expressed strong support for it. So yeah, I think we have. Okay, so Elon Musk. Okay, SpaceX, and of course, I'm glad that they actually include him, because I was suspicious of his absence. Estimated net worth 300 billion. Israel Connection has interacted with Israeli officials and provided Starlink services in conflict zones. Defense Connection, SpaceX has major U.S. military contracts. Satellite communications are strategically important during wars. Companies where billionaire wealth is most directly tied to the war spending. Okay, let's just zip down this list. Lockheed Martin, RTX, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Defense, General Dynamics, Anduril, Palantir, and Elbit Systems, which is Israel. That's in Israel. Okay, the largest owners are often non-individual billionaires, but giant investment firms. Okay, we already went over the BlackRock, State Street, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so again, you have Palmer Luckey, Peter Thiel, Larry Fink, and Lockheed, Raytheon, Northrop executives, Miriam Adelson, Larry Ellison, and let's see who else. Uh, Michael Dell. Uh, okay. Elon Musk. Okay. Okay. So I feel like I'm on a roll, and I might just go over. I might just do this all in one take. And so let's read what the biggest takeaway is that AI says. The biggest takeaway is that the modern war economy, think about that, modern war, it's all hip deep with technology, science, the best that science could offer, is not for making a sustainable city or sustainable cities. Think about that. If we use all our technology, think about this. Well, this is another example. Like if we just like put all our energy in making sustainable energy and cities, and just put people to work, where if everybody is involved, they're all like almost indoctrinated for the better. That's a whole other thing. Like talking about is indoctrination always bad? Like so, if you're indoctrinated to believe that you know. You shouldn't steal. Maybe that's not a bad indoctrination to be indoctrinated with. And so also don't you know there's the R word, underage you know people, children, and all that. Don't do that. Yeah, we're all being indoctrinated. Like you might have like the NAMBLA organization, and they might have some qualms against that. But like so, you could say that well, they're the ones who are being indoctrinated for promoting that. North American Man Boy Love Association, I think that was. But like we're also like, hey, we're not doing what the Greeks did. you know. I'm sorry, I digress. It's almost 2 o'clock. I don't know. It's like 1:40 right now. So, anyways, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. Indoctrination is probably always bad, but you have okay. The thing is, you got to have some kind of pedagogy in a big society where people are schooled and somehow they have to be taught how to behave in society. That could be somehow misconstrued, or perhaps it's not entirely a form of indoctrination. I mean, again, we're not free. I already made a little comment about that. We're not free, people. Nowhere you're free. How are you free? Animals are more free than you are, but the problem with the animals is they don't have self-conscious awareness. They don't have the meta-conscious thing. So they don't think, yeah, I think therefore I chirp, so I'm going to fly here because I want to. They just sort of do it. They're like one with their environment. We have this curse of meta conscious awareness, and so we have to make narratives and stories for everything that we fucking do, and that's the truth. That's something to look into. Okay, the biggest takeaway is that the modern war economy is less about one billionaire making money from a single bomb sale, and more about a network of defense contractors, investors, asset managers, and technology companies whose valuations rise when governments increase military spending. So again, you have to have wars to do that, and so that's why we have these wars. And it's always saying, "Well, that's not what I'm saying." There's no connection. It's not like they intended it; they didn't want to. It's just they indirectly are making a whole bunch of fucking money. But I never said that. I never implied that in my questions. Although obviously the cat's out of the bag. I totally think that's what is going on. Okay, so I said, here it is. Here, okay, I'm sorry. This is going to be a long one, probably. It says 39 minutes, 40 seconds, 42, 43, 44, 45, go. Does Trump or any of his family members benefit from this war? Obvious. Yes. Yes, there are possible financial benefits and conflicts of interest involving Donald Trump and members of his family. You got to remember, Donald Trump is the fucking president. What if Obama was in this situation? What would they say then? Or Biden? You know, they're still freaking out about Hunter. It's like what the fuck is wrong with these people, right? And so yes, Trump and his family they're making buku bucks here. Okay, the Trump family's main financial connections are through real estate. Well, of course, foreign business deals, cryptocurrency, branding, and investments. If you're doing cryptocurrency, fuck you, man. Fuck that shit. All that stuff is just garbage. Fucking It's like, so the problem, if everything is so what they're doing now with the AI is they're taking books and the AI are devouring the books, and they're taking ancient texts and then they devour it and then they get rid of the originals, the hard copy. And it's like everything's gonna be like paperless, like all digital, and then you're gonna have to have some kind of ID card, and that's how you're gonna be able to access your money. They're gonna control everything. They're gonna control the narrative. And if they don't like history, a piece of history that just sort of like does not feel conducive to the current administration's, maybe even an administration after this one, or the one third down the line, it's like this shit's not going away. Like I said that before, this stuff's not going away. Whatever it is, the ICE thing, now the AI thing, and like they're gonna get what's gonna happen to our fucking libraries? You know? So the real estate, Donald Trump, real estate for investment, foreign business deals, cryptocurrency, branding, and investments. That's how he's making dough from this thing with Iran. So these are the main fucking things, main fucking people. Person, estimated wealth, connection to Israel, possible financial benefits. So the first one is obviously Donald Trump. Several $billion while he's the fucking president. Connection to Israel-Iran conflict. Strong political alliance with Israel. Okay. Possible financial benefit. Potential benefit through investments, business opportunities, and political branding. It's not like he's okay. Anyways, he's not receiving money directly. It's not indirectly, but it's like it's in your fucking stocks and under your name. So Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, hundreds of millions, up to $1 billion. Tie with connection to Israel, former Middle East advisor, right, architect of the Arabian Accords, Abraham, Arabian, small text, man. Abraham, it's almost two. It's like 2 o'clock. It's 1:45. So give me a break here. Okay, former Middle East advisor, architect of Abraham Accords, maintains major Gulf investment relationships. His private equity firm, he runs a fucking equity firm. Affinity Partners received major investment commitments from Gulf sovereign funds. Regional stability, diplomacy, and business deals can affect these investments. Okay, and then so Donald Trump Jr., tens of millions, political support of Israel, blah blah blah. Benefits from Trump family businesses, blah blah blah. Okay, also brand recognition. They're a fucking brand. Fuck these assholes. I'm sorry. All right. Again, it's like 1:45. I'm kind of tired, but I gotta get this, off my chest. Eric Trump, tens of millions, runs much of the Trump organization's real estate operations. Benefits from Trump brand. It's a brand. Fucking brand. It's like that's why his name. That's why his name is on. He's conquering the world. Like when you put a name, like Bruce Lee said, like words are like spells. Like words are powerful. They're like they cast spells. And I kind of had this strange idea for the science fiction or this fantasy fiction like short story idea that where people are looking at the people like who practice magic. They're all like, oh, these are Wiccans, and they do the pentagrams, and they're doing magic. They burn candles and all that, and they're the dark evil. But it's like no, the real magicians are these people, and so they cast a spell by all this type of shit, including Trump's letters, Trump, where it's like a spell, and so he's commanding you, and he's mesmerizing the population, like Saruman or some, you know what I mean? It's like something. It's a stretch because he's such an asshole, and like fucking, Saruman, um, like Saruman's totally fucking cool, like Christopher Lee's, like fucking badass shit, Trump. That's like or Trump. How could that guy be like a magician, but you get the like for this idea that that maybe we're looking in the wrong places for like where the real magicians and dark freaking people are, and like how many of these people are in secret societies and fraternities and what weird secret shit that the whole thing like with remember the reporters were going after like Bill Clinton and also George Bush Jr. regarding like their connections to like Bohemian Grove and stuff like that. And it's like it's so secret, It's like and they're like George Bush Jr. It's so secret we can't even talk about it. And he's grinning, and like the skull and bones. I think it was a skull and bones for George Bush Jr. It's so secret we can't call. I'm just saying, like so, like for my story, it's like, and they don't even have to do like weird candle and pentagram things. They just like they use their presence and their will, and somehow they were able to tap into this just by being the fucking assholes that they are. Because how do they? You ever wonder how do these people get to be so rich and powerful? Like, are they bending some kind of rule that is invisible to the rest of us? And it's not that they even know that they're doing it. It's like their talent. Like, say you have somebody who's musically born with a perfect pitch, and they're like 10 years old and they can just play anything off the top of their head when they hear it on the piano or whatever. Like I was trying to piano over there, it's like, it's a funny little thing, I was doing. I don't have that, I have to work at it, and so, but like, and then you have people who are just naturally good at stuff. And it's like, so I was trying to use that, like it's their magic. And because magic is somehow defined as this way of changing the world according to your will, right? If that's what magic is, you get to change the world according to your will. And well, who the fuck is doing that? Somebody dressed in black and his girlfriend somewhere in the middle of Detroit. And yeah, we're the black trapezoid and like and we practice magic and we read all the stuff on magic and all that. But what the fuck are they? They're not a threat, and they're not. How much of the world are they changing according to their will? They're not bending anything. But boy, all these Elon Musk is. He was able to will himself into the fucking government. He's able to will himself to be a trillionaire. And Donald Trump, he willed himself to be the president 2 times. So I was like, somehow by stretch of the imagination, I can connect that to like they're using some kind of magic, but they don't, unbeknownst to us, and even them, it's I don't know. So I really went off on a tangent there, but okay. So like Eric Trump, tens of millions, runs much of Trump's organizations, like real estate stuff. He benefits from the Trump brand. Yeah, that's when I got into that whole thing about Trump because his letters are all over the place, and he keeps saying the lie until people believe it's true. That's a Nazi tactic, of Nazi Germany, where you say the lie bold enough, big enough, and loud enough. It becomes a subconscious kind of programming. Now you're dealing with like, neuro-linguistic fucking program, NLP. No, that's a real fucking thing. Neuro-linguistic program. I read about that when I was in college. It's like, and so at first I didn't get it, but now after watching looking at commercials and all that and just reading and stuff about it, and oh yeah, just because you hear it consciously and you're like, oh, I reject that consciously, it stays with you and it winds up in your unconscious, and somehow that's like that's what's going on in those chambers, and then somehow you sort of like fall in line, and like some of you are even fucking voting for this fucking guy. You don't have any kind of defense against it. It's really weird. I've seen it. Okay, Trump family crypto ventures reported to involve very large valuations. They don't mention the amount though. Must be very large. It's very large. Our pocketbook in cryptocurrency investments here for this war is very large, not small. It's very large. Okay, the family's World Liberty financial crypto business has generated significant revenue and attracted foreign-linked investment, raising conflict of interest concerns. Duh, do you think? Holy cow! The closest direct financial connection, Jared Kushner. Kushner is probably the Trump family member with the strongest Middle East financial overlap. He played a central role in Trump's Middle East policy during the first administration. After leaving government, he founded Affinity Partners. The firm received large commitments from investors, including Gulf sovereign wealth funds. Critics have questioned whether political relationships and business interests overlap. Supporters argue it is a normal private equity business. Now, again, I stumbled on this format where I just kind of had come up with these questions. I asked ChatGPT, and there's probably people who fucking hate this, but like, this is what I'm trying to say. Like, so that last paragraph, you click on the link, and it's from the link takes you to uh, it doesn't say the Washington. A lot of pop-ups, fucking pop-ups, fucking piss me off. It's the Washington dot dot dot. So it's the Washington Post. I knew it. It's the Washington Post. Um, that's where that paragraph comes from. So, and then there's another paragraph from Fortune. Fortune, yes, it's called Fortune. So I'm going to read that paragraph now. So what does Fortune say? Donald Trump's personal investments. This is from Fortune. Reports have also raised questions about Trump's investment portfolio. One report, based on financial disclosures, said accounts in Trump's name purchased energy and defense-related stocks, including companies such as ExxonMobil, Chevron, Lockheed Martin, and General Dynamics during the Iran conflict period. A Trump Organization spokesperson said investment decisions were handled by outside managers. That's in Fortune. Okay, what is not established? Okay, there's no evidence that Trump and his family are major they own a weapons company. Well, duh, that's not the whole fucking point. Again, are you just trying to mislead us? We know that. It's through his real estate ventures, his crypto bullshit, and his benefits of political power and influence, foreign business relations, crypto ventures, real estate and branding deals, investments that may arise during geopolitical instability. So the thing is, that's the art of the new. That's the art. That's the art of the deal. The art of the New Deal. It's like that's the art in an alternate universe. Like Franklin Delano Roosevelt's a fucking jerk here, and he wrote this book called The Art of the New Deal. Okay, anyways, that's how he's getting and it makes sense. It's like you have, and he's diversifying in his own way. I'm going to have all these different things that I'm going to try to capitalize on. One is political power and influence. Yeah, if I have political power and influence, that's going to give me some kind of money. If he has political power and influence, he's a president. It's hard to arrest him. And all that. He's like escaping justice. Like, and he owns the Supreme Court. He owns all three branches of the government, with the Republicans just standing behind him. Even the catatonic fucking turtle face guy, turtle head. Mitch McConnell is a fucking catatonic nightmare catastrophe. It's like, is he dead or is he alive? And he's a fucking zombie. He's like the living dead, or the unliving dead, or he's like the unalive living. He's a fucking zombie. These people are fucking like zombies and shit like that. Like Ted Cruz looks like he looks like a fucking vampire. He's like their own Texas vampire. And shit. It's like, dude, these fucking people just won't go away. They won't go away. You're like, fuck, man. So, if you rank the Trump circle by financial overlap with the Middle East geopolitics, I would put Jared Kushner as number one, strongest Middle East investment connection. Donald Trump, broadest mix of political power, business investments. Because he's experienced, he knows that. Like it's like diversifying in a way, right? Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr., family, business, and brand exposure. Trump crypto investors and partners, newer and rapidly growing financial area. The strongest war profit link remains with defense contractors and their shareholders, while the Trump family's potential benefit is more about influence, investment. They're making money off this, you know. Um, how are he and his family directly benefiting from this? The short answer is there are documented ways Trump and some members of his family could financially benefit from a Middle East conflict, but the strongest connections are indirect through investments, business relationships, and political influence. Okay. So Donald Trump investments that may benefit from war-related markets, defense and energy investments. So he invests. So financial disclosures have shown Trump linked brokerage accounts holding or purchasing stocks connected to sectors that can benefit from the Middle East instability. So he is in his hands are in those stocks of Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, and ExxonMobil. So this guy, what was his quiz or riddle me this, Batman? He was waving his finger at the opponents, the Democrats, like, oh, they're like, military spenders and all this, and they're hawks, and so I'm going to stop all the wars. I'm going to stop the war in Ukraine in like 24 hours or whatever, right? No more wars, no more wars. And what does he do? He invades Venezuela. He's threatening to take over Greenland and Cuba. He's destroying Cuba economically, and he's threatening to take over Canada. Hello? And this thing with Iran, bombing Iran while they're making. Here's the thing about this. He's fucking bombing Iran. The first time around, he's bombing Iran when Iranian officials are talking to the Trump administration about negotiations and stuff. And you know what happened to us with Japan bombing Pearl Harbor? They were doing that to us. They were doing that to us. That's how we were caught unawares, because we're trying to make some kind of a arrangement or a peace or something. And then while these talking heads are meeting and these wizards are trying to make some kind of an agreement, they bombed Pearl Harbor. And so like we did that to Iran. Doesn't that make us like the bad guy? If you see where I'm kind of going with this? Okay. So Trump invests in Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Jared Kushner's strongest Trump family Middle East financial connection. Kushner is probably the family member with the most direct Middle East business ownership. As a senior advisor in the Trump's first administration, Kushner was heavily involved in Middle East diplomacy. He helped negotiate the Abraham Accords, which normalized relations between Israel and several Arab states. Financial connection. After leaving government, Kushner founded Affinity Partners, a private equity firm. Well, like we really, that stuff, those private equity firms will bring us further into the trenches. We're not aligning with the planet, the ecology of the planet, nothing to do with, cybernetic engineering, which is an interesting thing to look into, and how true kind of, investing should be in creating a type of cybernetic engineering relation between humanity and the earth itself, its natural resources. You somehow have this it's like a positive feedback loop, and so like these are the things. It's almost like supply and demand, but it's much more complex because it's more nuanced, because they study this in biology and in nature, like how systems sort of run themselves, like a pond that runs itself, the ecology of these natural environments, how they sort of work together. And so it's kind of like that, and so it's like somehow let's implement that for managing institutions and businesses, governments, and the building of our cities. And this was something that was like around like 50 or years ago. And it's like it was the norm. It was like, oh, cool, we're gonna do this. Originally, cybernetics was used to figure out how to make, guided missiles. Like there was a time we didn't have guided missiles. You have to like there's like the target's flying like this. You have to kind of like aim in front of the target so that it kind of hits at the right timing. But then they wanted to use cybernetics, which is like it partnered with like how computer kind of future technology will work, and they make like these smart bombs or these missiles that can just cybernetically you know self navigate to the target. But the offshoot of that is something more beautiful with nature and how cybernetics is found in nature, including your body. And oh, that's another beautiful subject to touch. But let's just finish up with this segment. This is like now it's an hour. I'm an hour into this. So, Affinity Partners, the firm received major investment commitments from Gulf governments, including Saudi Arabia and other wealthy Gulf states. So, the only reason why he's interested in this whole Accords thing is to bolster Israel's position and then also, harness and tap into the resources of these other, you know, like Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states. Critics have raised concerns about the overlap between his government role in private investment relations. Supporters argue it is a legitimate investment business. Why would you, unless you're directly receiving benefit from that? What is your incentive for this? Is it some kind of like ego trip you got? Like, what is this doing for you? You know, and your friends and your family or whatever. I just don't get it. You know, I mean, his dad's the fucking president, and he's also holding a position in the government. At a time, it's like, how is this possible? Again, if Obama was doing this, or Biden, or Harris, oh my God, hey, let's go back, another January 6th, let's do it. We're gonna finish the job, that's what would happen. So, what's the conflict? Middle East diplomacy affects Gulf investment flows. U.S. Let's see. Okay. How could conflict affect this? Okay. Okay. The firm received major investment commitments from Gulf governments, including Saudi Arabia and other wealthy Gulf states. Critics have raised concerns about the overlap between his government role, his government role, and private investment relations. Supporters argue that it's a legitimate business. Okay. How could conflict affect this? Middle East diplomacy affects Gulf investment flows. U.S. foreign policy decisions can influence relationships with governments that invest with affinity partners. A more militarized region can create opportunities in security, infrastructure, and technology investments. Number three, Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr., their connections are mainly through Trump Organization, real estate licensing, international business relationships, defense security technology. They have been reports raising questions about Trump family linked investments and relations involving defense technology companies, including drone related businesses. These issues have drawn scrutiny from critics who argue there may be conflicts of interest. However, there is not public evidence that either son personally receives money from Israeli weapons sales or from the Iran conflict itself. But let's go back. Connects the real estate license to the international business relations. So, and it's the investment in the defense technology companies. It's almost as if, okay, so however, connection to Israel, specifically Trump family's Israel relationship is most political and business related. Donald Trump recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital and moved the U.S. embassy. Remember that during his first presidency, he supported Israel's government on several major policy. It must have all been planned. It's like there's got to be people who are behind him in this that is not visible, that's invisible. Invisible hands or forces are behind this because this whole thing against Iran and pro-Israel is it's not like, oh, it didn't happen when Trump became president. You got to remember, like, okay, I cannot stand Trump, and I can't stand people who still support him. But I mean, I'm a complicated type of animal because I'm the one to tell you that Hillary Clinton said if she was made president, she would go to war with Israel. I mean, I'm sorry. Let's okay, take two. Um, Hillary Clinton said that if she is made president, she'll go to war with Iran. So I will admit that. I'm here to say that she said it. So that means that this has not been just an isolated incident with Trump, you know. It's just so much to unpack here, like conspiracies, plots and complots, more thicker than a Shakespearean drama, or tragedy. That's what's going on here. So Kushner, okay, has Trump recognized Jerusalem as the capital and all that. Jared Kushner built close relations with Israeli and Gulf leaders, led Middle East diplomacy efforts. Miriam Adelson, one of the largest pro-Israel political donors to the U.S., her political support helped strengthen Trump's relation. She's one of the reasons why Trump is president, apart from like Joe Rogan and his fucking podcast and all that. So all these people, Elon Musk, these people put him in the White House because they saw deregulation, type of thing over the horizon. And then Elon Musk gets into the government, the Department of Government Efficiency, and he docks all these organizations that can keep him in checks and stuff like that, keep him under surveillance. And there, I want to do a research. I haven't done it yet. I want to ask ChatGPT AI, if somehow Elon Musk is somehow connected to, like, okay, he goes in there and he does all that, and then somehow that's why he's now a trillionaire. He goes into the government and he has like the Doge thing going on, and he shuts down a lot of organizations and things, investigative type things in the government. Kind of like the stuff that would keep, monopolies and stuff like that. I don't know. I know that's antitrust, but like, okay, he goes in there and he sort of like deregulates shit by getting rid of the regulators. Okay, and so is there a connection between him doing this type of activity in the White House as a Doge chair and him becoming a trillionaire? I haven't gotten an answer. I don't know anybody. No one's ever even thought of that on social media, but I want to find out. That's something that I have to look into and do. Uh, who has the most direct war profit connection? Okay, Lockheed Martin, all the military weapons manufacturers, them and the shareholders connected to them. So Trump family, Jared Kushner, Donald Trump, Eric Trump, and Donald Trump Jr. Okay. So, and this is pretty much the end of it. So, I mean, just I mean, again, if they're not in it for the money, they're in it for like, power. Like Trump, I've heard people say that, somehow, even though he might not be president a third term, a fourth term, is a third or fourth term, like he jokes about, 2028, Trump 2028. Now, as I saw him rise to political power, I really got despondent. Like, this guy, he gets away with anything and everything. Like, he will say and do things that would bury anybody else, but he gets away with it. Isn't like he has 36 felonies? He's like a walking fucking criminal, like with all these things hanging over his head, but he's still like, it's like, gosh, he gets away with everything. And like, he's overriding the Constitution. So it's like, don't be surprised if he doesn't go away in 2028. Even though, and this is the thing, I could only say that about this fucker. I wouldn't say this about Nixon or anybody else who was a fucker, But this guy, I don't know. There's something about the guy that I just like, fuck, man, because he was around during the 80s with like Robert Crumb, rip-off press comic book underground comic book artist. He makes all sorts of fun, um, of Donald Trump, and he shows him as an asshole. He's in the room or the bathroom with these big bosom girls and shit like that. And he shows him as being a greedy, fucking, disgusting pig asshole. And it's like, how could this guy be anything, or whatever, besides, him being a real estate mogul and making, a lot of money, a billionaire. It's like, how can he even do that? It's just like the system has got to be so fucked for people like that to be in such a prominent position. And now he's the fucking president 2 times. And so I'm thinking that, like, okay, here's an example. Here's an example. So I'm looking up the Obama Trump thing at the 2011 White House Correspondents' Dinner, where then President Obama publicly roasts Donald Trump. Remember that. And so, because he's getting back at Trump, because Trump is the one who brought up the whole topic about the birthday conspiracy, that Obama is not an American citizen, and look at his birth certificate, it's rigged or doctored up and all that. And boy, his fucking fan base, it's kind of like, again, I use Lord of the Rings as an example. So like when Frodo put on the ring rays went like that. All these dark rays, all these dark ghouls and goblins and shit. They zeroed in on they smell. It's like sharks smelling blood. And so when Trump did that, when Trump did that with the license, Obama's not even an American citizen and all that. These were Christians, and they're like the raids, and it's like, Trump's fucking with the ring, and it's like, and that's why, and they started to mobilize, and they fucking got Trump in the White House. The silent majority, the whole thing that the fucking Christian, nationalist, American Christianity, American nationalist type of theocracy. That's some kind of it's almost fascist in nature. I mean, nay, it's becoming so evident that that's exactly what we're seeing. And this is becoming the new normal. So Obama is roasting him at this correspondence dinner. The birther conspiracy, Trump's decision-making skills on his reality show. He makes fun of that, the White House visuals, which fucking, like, that to me, it's like, wow, that's like Biff, when Biff became president, and Back to the Future stuff, and it's like, and it's just mind blowing. Well, anyways, also, like, did Obama say that Trump would never be president? No, that's real time. Let's do it real time. Let's have some fun here, Yes, President Barack Obama explicitly stated multiple times during the 2016 campaign that he did not believe Donald Trump would become president. It's like I remember him saying that. There's just he didn't say it this way, but there's no way in hell that he's going to become president. He became president twice. He gets away with all this stuff. And it's almost like, what is doing this? How is this possible? And so it's almost like, you know what? Don't be surprised. I don't want to end it with this, all right? Because I don't want this to happen. Don't be surprised if he's president in 2028. And like, so you have this thing with this fucking ballroom, and then he comes out and says it out in the open. It's really it's like a weapons like bunker with weapons and all this and drones and all this and like, like, that's a great place where he can hide out, in case he loses and he ain't leaving. That's hyperbole or a little bit exaggerated on my behalf. Like, but I've heard commentators say that in social media, but all I'm saying is, apart from how it's going to happen, Like, I mean, and here's the reason why this just fucking blows my mind. So, like, didn't, like, remember when Google first came, onto the scene, and now we're all using it and all that. And didn't it seem like a very, like, progressive, kind of liberal thing? Like the internet, everyone has access to it. And Google was kind of giving us stuff for free, kind of like, didn't it kind of seem like that? And like it was like this, wow, Google was pretty cool, and like people want to work it for Google and all that. But like, but then now, cut to the present, and it's like Donald Trump is like, hey, let's change. I'm going to reclaim the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of the United States, Gulf of America. And didn't Google change it to that? And didn't other people, like, I think Facebook, they align themselves with Trump? These corporations, they're all aligning themselves with Trump. They're all empowering and enabling him. Google is enabling him. What Google should have done was like, no, we're not going to change it. No, we're too big for you to mess around with, and we care about like the people who use Google, and a lot of people don't want that to be changed to the Gulf of America, so we're not doing it. What do you think about that? No, they knuckled under and they did it. He gets away with everything. What if he winds up getting Greenland? Is anybody stopping what he's doing to? I mean, he fucking invaded Venezuela and took down the president, and now he's in prison. He gets away with all these things. He's killed hundreds of people in the Caribbean. Those boats. He's blocking investigation into the deaths and the family connections of those people on those fucking boats in the Caribbean. The Caribbean. Again, it's like it's 2:30, man. I'm just like, right? We'll know we're talking around. He's saying that there's drugs in those boats. Why don't you just fucking call the Coast Guard and then, like, okay, the boats go to shore, and then you have all these, like, Coast Guards with guns and shit. Okay, guess what? We're confiscating your boat here and all the contents therein. We're gonna look for drugs. Okay, no drugs here. Okay, let them go. Why couldn't they do that? Think about this, people. This is the 21st fucking century. We have to fly overhead and bomb them from overhead. Just fucking. I mean, those boats have to go somewhere. They're destined to go to a port somewhere. So you just intercept them. Maybe out in right. When they're out in sea. When they're in transit out in sea, just go there and intercept them and say, we're boarding your vessel and we're going to check out the contents of your boats, and do that for all of them. We don't have the money, the resources, the ability to do that. And it's, oh well, it's, we're not allowed to do that, because that's not our water. We don't have access to that water. Bullshit. We can go anywhere with our boats. If we're fucking flying over there and bombing these people, who gives a shit? We would just go and do. We could have done that. Just jump on the boats and just look and see what they have. Look at their crates and shit. What are you carrying in these boats? Again, remember, okay, Apocalypse Now, and there was that one little boat with the farmers on it, and they had a bunch of, like, chickens, and they had a dog, and the dog was being hidden. The girl was hiding the dog, and like okay, in Apocalypse Now, like the chief, the captain of the boat, little boat, was Phillips or whatever, and the guy was Mr. Clean or whatever, who that's, they called him, and he's the one who started opening fire, in that little Vietnamese boat, because the girl was clutching something, and it was just a puppy. It was a fucking puppy, but they didn't care. They killed everybody in there. It's kind of like this. We're supposed to learn from these fucking movies. We're supposed to learn lessons from these wars and what we did, like in Vietnam and that. And here we have this fucking asshole killing people in these boats in the Caribbean. He's killing them. He gets away with it. He gets away with it, people. What is this? And so come, 2028, I'm just going to end it there. He might not be going away unless everyone's hoping that he dies. What if he doesn't?